Welcome to another edition of Rust Rants, where I come on and rant about, well, whatever is honking me off today. So today, this is going to be a non-sports rant. This is going to be a rant about one of my other passions in life, and that is music. The other day, the list of inductees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for this year came out, and well, one of them, I do have to say, I really approve of, and that is none other than Pat Benatar. Actually, the one thing I have to ask is, what took so long to put Pat Benatar in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I mean, this woman is one of the most iconic rockers of the 1980s, and she was someone who I had a huge crush on in middle school and high school. Well, me and millions of other teenage boys back in the 1980s. So, Pat Benatar, glad that she's finally in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Long overdue, that's for sure. But then you come down to some of the other inductees they have going in this year, one of which is the Arrhythmics. I guess. Honestly, I was never a big Arrhythmics fan, so I'm not the guy to ask. I guess they count as rock. I don't know. Duran Duran. I actually like Duran Duran. I'm a fan of Duran Duran. I don't know if they're Hall of Fame worthy or not. That's debatable. Lionel Richie got in the Hall of Fame. Now, I think Lionel Richie is a great singer. Do I think of him as rock? Not really. Carly Simon is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, rock does not enter my mind when I think of Carly Simon. Well, maybe she's yacht rock, I guess. Eminem, like, seriously? Like, I don't care if you like Eminem or not, if you think he's a good performer or not. He's rap. He's not rock. This is supposed to be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not the Rap Hall of Fame. Why is he in there? And then, of course, the one that I'm just stupefied by, Dolly Parton is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Okay, any Dolly Parton fans out there, don't start yelling at me. I have nothing against Dolly Parton. I think she's a phenomenal entertainer. She's been a great entertainer for decades. But she's not rock and roll. I think of Dolly Parton, I think country. And doesn't country music have its own Hall of Fame? So why is Dolly Parton in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Dolly Parton herself even said, I don't know why they nominated me for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I ain't rock and roll. It just goes to show the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the people who run it don't know what rock and roll is anymore. Judas Priest, who people have been clamoring for years should be in the Hall of Fame, and I'm one of them. Judas Priest, they got the Musical Excellence Award from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I don't know if that actually makes them Hall of Famers. To me, it'd be like the Baseball Hall of Fame giving Dave Kingman the Home Run Excellence Award. So would that mean Dave Kingman is a Hall of Famer? This is just very confusing. And like I said, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, over the last decade or so, it's no longer been about rock and roll. They have pop, folk, rap. If they wanted to do that, just call it the Music Hall of Fame instead of specifying a genre like rock and roll. Here are some of the previous inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who, in my opinion, are not rock and roll. Tupac is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the NWA, Public Enemy are in there. Joan Baez is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Who thinks of rock and roll when they think of Joan Baez? She's more hippie music. And I know that, it is a fan vote in a lot of areas. So again, I guess maybe more of us fans need to get in there and put more votes in for acts like Judas Priest. I don't know. But still, someone has to nominate these acts to put them on a list. And who's there going, I'm a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Who should we put on this list? I know. Joan Baez and Jay-Z. They'd be great for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even though they have nothing to do with rock and roll. Because Jay-Z is a rapper. Have a rap Hall of Fame. Have a folk music Hall of Fame. They're not meant to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This goes to show the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is really the Rock and Roll Hall of, I can't say the exact word on the air, but I'll just say it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Bravo Sierra. Especially since Iron Maiden, one of the biggest metal acts in the world, they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And here's what their CEO said. I forgot to write down the CEO's name. I don't know. I'll just call him Mr. Dumber Than a Box of Rocks, I guess. There's no doubt that Iron Maiden are an impactful, influential band, and that's why they were nominated. So we're not questioning, are they an important band? Are they impactful and influential? So that's from Mr. Joey Bag of Donuts, whatever his name is, the CEO of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And yes, Iron Maiden is impactful. Iron Maiden is influential. I've been to 2 of their concerts. The place is packed. They have a worldwide following. They've been a huge band for years. They should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So should Motorhead. So should Slayer. So should Pantera. So should Megadeth. Heck, all 4 of the big thrash metal bands ought to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I guess since the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is run by idiots, we're not going to see that. And coming up pretty soon, Slipknot should be eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Given their popularity among the metal ranks worldwide, I think they should be in. Nightwish, one of my all-time favorite bands from Finland. Nightwish pretty much invented the genre of symphonic metal. But will they be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I seriously doubt it. If they don't put Iron Maiden or Motorhead or Pantera in there, I seriously doubt Nightwish is going in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So as far as I'm concerned, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame isn't about rock and roll anymore. And if I, for whatever reason, found myself in Cleveland and I walked by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I would just keep on walking. Well, hey, folks, time for us to have a word here from our sponsor. Does your toilet have rings that always need cleaning? Do you have hard water spots on your shower doors? Calcium buildup on your faucets? Just imagine what all of that is doing to the inside of your washing machine, dishwasher, refrigerator, your hot water heater. What about the pipes inside your body? Buy a filter or be a filter. You can have clean, mineral-rich water without the buildup of unwanted toxins in your body and throughout your whole home. Call Vicki Johnston today at H2O Health and Water Solutions, 928-899-7504, or stop in and see her at the Gateway Mall. Well, folks, that's my rant. Rock on, and I will see you next time up the irons.